Hello everyone, welcome to the iPhone Videography Masterclass. If you've ever felt like you need expensive gear to shoot beautiful videos, this course is going to change that perspective completely. Whether you're a content creator, a small business owner, or someone who just loves shooting videos, this course will show you how you can shoot amazing looking videos using just your iPhone. I've been using both my iPhone and my DSLR for my video projects. And honestly, many times I have chosen the iPhone because of how quick, convenient, and surprisingly cinematic it can be. Here's what you'll learn in this course: the best iPhone camera settings for video, how to use natural light to your advantage, cinematic composition and camera movement, DIY stabilization tips without expensive gear, and finally, how to shoot smooth, engaging videos that feel intentional and beautiful. Most people shoot videos that are shaky, overexposed, and feel pretty flat. That's not your fault. Your iPhone does a lot of things automatically, and without the right techniques, your videos will not stand out. Whether you're filming for Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, or your small handmade business, this course will give you the basic fundamentals of recording beautiful and professional looking videos. So grab your iPhone, clean your camera lens, and get ready to level up your iPhone video. Let's get started. Welcome to Module 1, Understanding Your iPhone's Camera for Video. Before we talk about cinematic shots and creative camera movement, we need to understand how your iPhone camera works and how to get the best out of it. Even the best techniques won't help if you're using the wrong settings. So let's dive in. First, open your iPhone settings, scroll down to camera, click on record video at the top, and here you'll see the resolution options. 1080p at 30 frames per second is going to be the default for many iPhones. And there are 4K options as well. Let's break that down. Resolution is how sharp your video looks. 4K is higher quality and bigger file size. It is highly recommended to shoot all your content in 4K because then you can even crop your videos later on. 1080p is still okay for social media, but you won't be able to crop your videos at all, and generally 1080p videos look a lot worse than 4K videos. I never recommend 1080p to anyone. And the frame rate, the frames per second FPS, is how smooth the motion feels. How many frames are there in 1 second of the video? 24 frames per second exist here. First, let's enable PAL formats as well. So you enable 25 frames per second, and I'll tell you how useful it is. 24 frames per second is used for cinematic feel. It is used in movies and shows. 25 frames per second is ideal if you're shooting under fluorescent lights to avoid flickering, especially in countries that use 50 Hz power. For example, Europe, Africa, Asia, and South America. 30 frames per second is your natural and standard videos. Most of what you see on social media is 30 frames per second. 60 FPS is for smoother motion. It is great for slow motion or action shots. So let me demo you how to use the PAL format. First, you should always shoot 4K. Now, let me show you how useful 25 frames per second truly is. Go to home screen, fire up the camera, and let's open up the video. Now you see the flickering, the insane amount of flickering there is. And here it's not, but here the flickering is wild. So what I want you to do is switch over to 25 frames per second, and the flickering is completely gone from the shot. If you switch over to 30, it is still flickering, and 60, it's flickering even faster. At 25 frames per second, there is zero flicker. So this is the use of PAL format. Again, most lights flicker like this, most external lights anyway. I'm personally using a ring light, and basic fluorescent light. So I personally shoot at 4K 25 frames per second. All the indoor videos and outdoor videos are shot at 4K 30 frames per second, but an extra tiny bit of smoothness. I rarely shoot 60 frames per second. Let's head down. HDR videos. You should never shoot HDR videos because color grading them is a pain. Using them anywhere is pain. They generally look terrible on most social medias. Auto FPS is it reduces the frame rate to improve low light video and optimize file size. What it does is, for example, you're shooting 4K 60 FPS in low light and the phone is unable to shoot properly and it just bumps your FPS down to 30. Lock camera is it does not automatically switches cameras while recording a video. You should enable that. I haven't because I rarely switch cameras or something. Lock white balance is the most important setting if you're using the default camera app. Let me demonstrate. Let's disable lock white balance and see what happens. Fire up the camera app, go to video, and here are some of our objects. This is the mouse, this is a beautiful artificial flowers, and this is a wooden cardboard box and our laptop. Let's demonstrate. If I go close here and look at how blue the shot gets. The thing is, the box is a very warm color. So the iPhone is trying to balance the warm color by adding a lot of blues. So let's move the camera to the flowers and look at how it switches. And let's do this again. Ultimately, what happens is if you're recording cinematic videos, white balance changing between your shot is going to look terrible. So what I want you to do is lock your white balance and start your video at the proper white balance point. For example, if I want to record this movement, I'm not going to start the video here because then it's going to record a blue looking video and it looks terrible ultimately. What I'm going to do is start recording here because it looks the best in terms of color. Then I'm going to go to the box and record a shot like this. And this is going to create a huge effect. I wish there was a slider where we could adjust the white balance, but there isn't in the default camera app. You can also control your exposure and focus. Let me show you how. You just tap on your subject and you can lower your exposure like this by dragging it down, and you can increase your exposure by swiping up. Don't go crazy with it, is all I'm saying. And you can tap and hold on your subject and it says AEAF lock, auto exposure, autofocus lock. Now you can drag your camera around anywhere, but it won't budge because the focus has been fixed. Now, since we have discussed PAL formats, HDR videos, lock white balance is going to be the most important setting. Let's get to the back, record slow motion. Slow motion, you can select anything. It doesn't really matter. I personally never use actual slow-mo videos because the quality is questionable. On my phone, it's okayish at best. On modern iPhones, it is a lot better. Record sound. It should always be stereo. Stereo sound fires from both speakers differently. For example, if you're using headphones, the sound from the left is going to be from the left channel, the sound from the right is going to be from the right channel. It will be perfectly optimized sound. Mono sound does not work in today's time properly. Formats. This is another important thing. You can shoot high efficiency formats and most compatible formats. There are two options. If you have a Mac, first let's talk about the difference. Most compatible format is the format that works with Windows and non-Apple devices. High efficiency format generally doesn't work well with Windows and Linux. So if you have a MacBook, you can shoot high efficiency format. The files are generally smaller, so there is a huge advantage here. Otherwise, I don't see much advantage using high efficiency formats. And there are some frame rates that are logged with high efficiency. For example, 4K 60 frames per second. You can only shoot that in high efficiency format. And if you're using a Windows laptop or a Windows machine, please keep that in mind. Grid. You should always enable the rule of thirds grid so you know how you're composing the shot. Level shows you how tilted your phone is to the real life. It is a fantastic option. Mirror front camera. If you use your front camera a lot for the video, always enable it. View outside the frame is a useless option, by the way. It does not look good. You should always view what's inside the frame first. Now, let's head over to the camera again to see some remaining options. Just click on it and select video. Now you can record it from wide angle, from normal camera. You can also swipe up to see the flash setting. In the video, if you're recording videos, it should always be off. It should never be on auto. And this is your exposure setting. Again, don't go crazy with it. There aren't many settings, to be honest here. Modern iPhones come with sensor shift stabilization and action mode, which is going to be your iPhone 13 and above. Sensor shift stabilization is iPhone 13 and above, and action mode is iPhone 14 and above. They both help in recording ultra stable videos. They help a lot, but they're not magic. You still need to be as stable as you possibly can. Now, let's talk about some limitations. Low light performance is subpar at best. Zooming in digitally reduces the video quality. Get closer instead of zooming in. This is even worse for videos than in photo because the quality difference is dramatic. Auto exposure in bright sunlight can be wonky at times. Micro shakes, especially if you're using an older iPhones, your slight hand movement can still be felt within your videos. Understanding these will help you avoid frustrations later. Welcome to Module 2, Framing, Composition and Movement. This is where your videos start to feel intentional and cinematic. First, let's talk about some composition rules. First rule is going to be the rule of thirds. This creates balance and draws your viewer's eye. Ideally, for physical subjects and things like that, you keep them on one of the four intersections of lines, or you keep the horizon line on either the top line or the bottom line. Leading lines. Look for road, bridges, or any of the diverging lines that draw your viewer's eye towards the subject or into the scene. Symmetry and centered shots. Sometimes breaking the rule of thirds works wonders for your shot. Think reflection, doorways, or anything to either frame your subject or create reflection or something like that. Something that can create balance. Framing. You can frame your subject using multiple elements. It almost always looks cinematic and very beautiful. Record both horizontal and vertical videos. That way, you can repurpose your content for multiple platforms. Now, let's talk about camera movement. Sometimes a static shot is enough, especially when there is movement within your shot through the subject or the background is pretty dynamic. But if you want to add motion, do it smoothly. Panning, slowly turning left or right. Sliding, moving sideways while staying parallel. Push in, pull out, walking slowly forward or backward. Tilt, angling the phone up and down. You also don't have to shoot all your videos from eye level. You can use some creativity here. Low angle makes your subject look bigger and larger than life. Top-down shots are great for food and flat lays. Over-the-shoulder shot is also pretty good for storytelling purposes. Angles affect emotions, so try to shoot from multiple angles to see what works and what doesn't. Want to make your shots more cinematic? Add layers to your frame. Shoot through something. It can be a grass or a mesh or leaves or something like that. It creates more depth. Use reflections in mirrors, puddles, and glasses. Create more depth by dividing your shot in foreground, midground, and background. This will make your video feel three-dimensional. Welcome to module number 3, using natural light. Lighting is everything. You can shoot with the latest and the greatest iPhone or the most expensive camera. But if your lighting is terrible, your videos will look terrible as well. Let's start with the golden hour. That beautiful soft light right after sunrise or before the sunset. This is the best time to shoot videos. Skin tones look warmer, shadows look soft, and everything looks cinematic. If you can, plan your shoots around the golden hour. It will make a huge difference in your videos. You don't even have to shoot exactly at the time of sunset or sunrise. What you can do is, for example, sunset happens at 6 p.m. So you can start shooting around 4:30 p.m. or something like that. The light will still be soft. Now, the midday sun. It's not so friendly. It creates harsh shadows under the eyes and nose, especially if you're shooting people. If you have to shoot at noon, find shade under a tree, under a building. Turn your subject away from the sun. Use your phone's exposure slider to bring some details back into the highlights. Now, let's talk about the direction of light, from where the light is hitting your subject. First is the front light. In this particular shot, the light is right behind you as the videographer and is hitting your subject directly. It can look very, very flat. Side light. Light is coming in from the side. It can add a lot of depth and dimension to the shot. Backlight. Light is behind your subject. This can look beautiful if exposed correctly. It happens usually around sunset or sunrise. It can also cause silhouettes. Cloudy days are great too. The clouds act like giant softbox, diffusing the light evenly. If you're filming a person, a product, or a landscape, clouds will help you avoid harsh, direct sunlight. One of the easiest tricks to use light is move your feet. Natural light is all about positioning. You can also use your hand to figure out what will work. For example, what I do is just see your hand like this, rotate your hand, and observe closely how the light hits it. You don't want direct sunlight on top of your palm. What you want is three-dimensional lighting, and you will slowly observe. For example, this here looks the best. It's fantastic. Again, to me, to you, it looks average, but from here it looks fantastic. So you can use this test to figure out how to shoot better videos of people and objects. Light can make or break your videos, but once you start noticing and observing it, you will get better at it. Welcome to module number 4, stabilization. Shaky footage can ruin a great shot. But here's the good news. You don't need latest and the greatest to shoot super stable videos. Your iPhone does a lot of the heavy lifting. And with the right technique, you can do even more. Let's start with the most important stabilizer that you have, your body. A tip I have is going to be about keeping your elbows close to your body. This is related to video stabilization. So what a lot of people do is they shoot like this. Keep their hands out, elbows, the entire arm is in the air, there is no contact. The thing is that it's very difficult to keep your hand stable when you're holding your phone like this. So what I want you to do is keep your elbows close to your body and hold your phone like this. So you can pan very smoothly. The movement is going to be very smooth and uniform. Also, another thing I want to add here is when you're holding the phone like this and you're recording video, Hold your breath for a couple seconds if you can. This adds to the stability. Now, another thing about the walking, if you're recording a walking shot or a zoom in, zoom out or something like that, and you need to walk to take that shot, don't walk straight like this. Again, I will show you a better demonstration, but don't walk straight like this. What you need to do is you need to bend your knees and walk on your feet slowly and steadily. If you keep your knees straight, this is going to add a lot of jerk within the video. You can also use slow motion to add smoothness. Should you get a gimbal? A gimbal gives you buttery smooth footage, but they are not always necessary, as you can add stabilization using different softwares as well. Your iPhone already has incredible video stabilization, and if you're looking for more, you can get the gimbal, but I suggest you to learn to shoot handheld first. You'll develop better control and technique. Add a gimbal later only if your content needs it. Now let's discuss some options on how you can stabilize your iPhone videos for free. Option number 1 is iMovie, but only on Mac, because the iOS version does not offer video stabilization. All you have to do is import your video into Mac and then iMovie and just stabilize your video. Option number 2 is DaVinci Resolve. It works on both Mac OS and Windows. This is a pro level software, but it's absolutely free. Even Hollywood uses this particular software, so you can stabilize your videos for free using this software. Option number 3 is Google Photos, but only on Android. Import your video in the Google Photos on an Android phone, and all you have to do is click on Edit, and there is the stabilization button right there. If you're using iPhone 14 or above, your phone already has incredible stabilization mode by the name of Action Mode. Welcome to module number 5, Audio Basics for Video. Good visuals grab attention, but good audio, that's what keeps people watching. Whether you're filming a voiceover, an interview, or an ambient sound, audio is just as important as the video. Let's explore how to get the best possible sound even if you're using just your iPhone. The iPhone mic has limitations. It works, but it's not great in windy or noisy environments. It picks up background noise easily, and if the mic is far from your mouth, it results in echo or distant sound. But don't worry, you can still get clear audio from a few tweaks. Get close to the mic, ideally within arm's length reach. Choose a quiet environment for recording a video. Rooms with carpets and curtains, and if the room is filled up properly, it will result in less echo. Turn off any fans, air conditioner or fridge nearby. If you're outdoor, try to record in a sheltered space with no wind. Speak towards your camera mic and not sideways. It will result in much better audio. Finally, let's talk about ambient sound. Finally, don't forget to add ambient sound. Whether it's birds in the background, the hustle of a marketplace, waterfall sounds, or footsteps. These sounds add realism to your videos. They immerse your viewers into the moment. Even if you're recording a silent clip, stop and record 10 to 15 seconds of ambient sound using just your iPhone to layer it under your video using any software. Many people download and use these sound effects from other places like YouTube or Epidemic Sound or some place like that. If you want professional sounding audio, consider getting a small external mic. One great option is Bluetooth microphones. You can also get a lapel microphone for very cheap. However, I think they add a lot of bulk and you have to deal with a lot of wires and stuff like that. I'm using a Bluetooth microphone. There is a transmitter connected on my iPhone, and this is the microphone that I personally prefer. It's not exactly super cheap. I think I bought this personally for $25. I bought this for $25 and I think it's doing a wonderful job of recording audio. These microphones are especially useful if you're shooting outdoors. you're far from the camera, or you want to reduce the background noise and isolate your voice. Now let's talk about some final tips I have to record better videos. Practice over perfection. Don't stress about getting everything perfect right away. The more you shoot, the more your intuition, eye for light, and camera control gets better. Even pro filmmakers have to take dozens of shots to get the version they love. So don't be afraid to experiment. Film in different conditions. Shoot in all types of light conditions, the golden light, the harsh light, noon, evening, night. Understand how the light works. The more you shoot, the faster you recognize what works. Clean your lens. It may sound basic, but smudges can ruin a perfect looking video. Always wipe the lens with a microfiber cloth before you hit record. Smudges can make your video look extremely faded and flat. Use airplane mode. Avoid interruptions in your video by putting your phone on flight mode. This is especially true if you're shooting an interview or a proper voiceover or something like that, because you don't want to ruin your perfect take. Check storage and battery. Video eats up insane amount of storage and drains battery rapidly. Please ensure you have enough of both before leaving out to shoot. Include variety of shots. You can take many different types of shots, for example wide shots, medium shots, and close-ups to make your video and B-roll feel more dynamic. A while back, Apple released Final Cut Camera. It brings pro-level tools directly to your iPhone, giving you manual control over exposure, focus, frame rate, ISO, and more. In this module, I'll show you how to use it. If you've ever felt limited by the default iPhone camera app, Final Cut Camera is your solution. Let's open up the app. Here it is. And you're greeted by this. Let's open the windows as well, so more light comes in. Let's remove the mouse here. Let's place it here. And this is the background to show you how blurry it is. Now, starting from the top left, if you click on this icon, it is the live multicam to record with up to 4 devices at once. It is a Final Cut Pro feature. Since I'm not using any Mac, I am unable to show you this feature. Click on Not Now, and if you click on the top middle, HEVC, it is the codec. This is the only codec I have. And if you're using an iPhone Pro model, you will get log here. So you can shoot log videos, which are used by professional videographers, so they can edit the video later. And the second is SDR and HDR. Always shoot SDR. 4K, again, we have already discussed, you will always, you should shoot 4K. Frames per second, there are all these options. If you're shooting under fluorescent lights, you should use 25 or 50. This top left timer is 23 minutes, which means I can record 23 minutes of 4K footage on this phone based on the storage I have left. This right is the sound that is being captured, and the green bar shows the sound. If you click on the magnifying button, it is zooming in and zooming out. I like how smooth that is. And if you click on the 26mm, you can shift to the wide angle lens. And you can zoom in from the wide angle lens, you can zoom out, and this is the layout. Ideally shoot with the primary lens, and generally the stabilization will be a lot better on the wide angle lens, generally. Now, this lower right button is for the front camera, and the red button is for record. Let's get out. If you click on this up arrow or you swipe up, you get all the manual options. Starting from the left is the white balance. If you click on it, it says auto on the right. You click on it and there are all these options. If you're shooting in daylight, shadow, cloudy, tungsten, fluorescent, flash. Ideally, you should not set it up automatic. You should set it up manually. So if you go fixed, you click on fixed and change the white balance to your liking. For example, this I think looks horrible, but again, if you're trying to show a evening look, it fits the bill. If you're trying to show a sunset look, reduce it a little and it looks, just make it look more natural. Now, this is the natural color, the proper white. If you go even left, this is more blue. Again, you can make artistic choice here, or you can choose to stick with the real colors. Now, click on the arrow again and again, and the plus minus button is going to be your shutter speed and your ISO. Now, let's talk about using that. If you click on the button on the right, it says automatic, so you just increase exposure or decrease exposure, exactly like the iOS app. Now, let's set this up normally. Okay, and we will set up manually. So let's go manual. Shutter speed is 1/100th of a second. Again, about shutter speed, what you need to keep in mind is shutter speed should be double of your frames per second for the smoothest, best looking video. So I'm shooting at 30 frames per second, so my shutter speed should be around 50 or 60 frames per second. Oh, we have 60, so let's shoot at 60. Now, ISO. You can set up your ISO anywhere for the proper brightness. I think 40 works here. I think it looks nice at 100. And if this is the script that we're having, and you can try a variety of ISO up and down to see what works. As for ISO, the higher your ISO is, the noisier your footage gets. Think of ISO is how much light should enter the camera. In low light, you will keep a higher ISO. In broad daylight, you will keep a lower ISO. Now, AF. Let's click on the AF button. This is your focus. As of right now, we're using autofocus jumping around. You can also click on the auto button here to switch to manual focus. To do something creative with it, you can do something creative as well here, like this. This is your basic option. Again, you won't use this generally, but it is for special circumstances where you have to use manual focus. And another option is this mode where if you're recording, again, this is not really useful to be honest. If you want to record a landscape video or a portrait video, you just can lock it. For example, portrait video. So even if you turn your phone sideways, the video will still be in portrait mode. The video will save itself in portrait mode. I like keeping it unlocked so I don't have to check that setting. Now, if you click on the settings menu on the top right, and you can, as always, tap to focus. Now, if you click on the top right, there are your preferences. Codec is you only have one codec. Format, we talked about it. These are all generally the settings you have available on the top. Stabilization and mirror front camera. Ideally, you should always mirror your front camera so it looks like real life in the front camera, especially if you do record front camera videos. And stabilization, I personally enable it all the time. And you click on tools, there is grid overlay here, exactly like the one we have on the basic camera app. There is a level indicator as well, and there is aspect ratio guide. This is a unique bit. If you're trying to record a 4:3 video, so you only get the guide on 4:3. Now let's go to the tools again, and aspect ratio, square aspect ratio. So the rule of thirds will end in a square. Let's turn that off. There is overexposure indicator and focus peaking. Again, these features are ideally only used by actual professionals. So if you click on overexposure indicator, now if you increase the ISO, slowly, all these red lines are the areas that have lost any detail. These areas will not have detail. Again, this setting is useful if you're shooting in a super bright environment and you're trying to set up manual shutter speed and ISO, so you know what works. I'm trying to shoot the brightest video without blowing out the highlights. So 125 is too much. 80 is, I think, perfect, where I'm not blowing out the highlights, but the video is bright enough. So that is the use of overexposure indicator. I personally never use it. Next up is focus peaking. Focus peaking tells you the area of the video that is in focus. It is not entirely perfect, because if you see, the red bottle at the back has a couple of dots as well, but it is not in focus entirely. Now, if we click on the back, the front still has a lot of dots. So it is not entirely perfect, but some people use that. I personally never use it. Now, audio. Now you will get multiple options here. I'm not using anything, so there's no source. That is the camera app that we talked about. The Final Cut camera is free, powerful, and built for creators. And the best part, it's made by Apple. I recommend using it for a planned shoot where you want full control over the look and feel of your footage. It's like unlocking manual mode on your DSLR right on your phone. There is one thing that I want you to know. If you're recording a video with it, for example, let's record a quick sample here and hit save. And if you go to home, that video will not show up on your gallery by default. So what you have to do, it will only show up in the app. So you click on the gallery button and you click on the save button and click save video, and you allow full access, and only now your video will show up in the gallery. And you have to do that every single time. For example, let's record another video of our laptop this time, and a simple camera movement, and that's it. Now, if you go to your gallery, you will still not see the video. Every video you record, you will have to save to your gallery again and again. Let's move into the Apple Photos app and we'll see how you can color grade your footage for free. Just click on the video, and this is a basic video that I recorded a few years back. Again, I think this was shot on the iPhone 12. Click on the edit button. Pick any point that you'd like. I generally pick the midpoint and click on adjust. Now this is the auto button. If you click on it, the video adjusts automatically based on what the iPhone thinks looks good. I never do it. Generally, the iPhone does not do a decent job of color grading the video. It color corrects the video, and there is a huge difference. Disable that. Now, the next setting is exposure. How bright or dark your video is. I want to brighten this particular video, and you can tap on the video to see the before and after. There is highlights. Highlights control the bright parts of your footage. So the sky here, gets bright or dark. So I'd like to regain some details in the sky. So let's reduce the highlights, make the highlights darker. It brings back details. Next up is shadows. Shadows control the dark areas of the image. If you increase the shadows and all the dark area of the image gets bright, again, don't go crazy with it ever. For this particular footage, I want to reduce it because I want it to feel more cinematic, more eerie, more dark, and ultimately beautiful. Eerie is not the word we can use here. Just keep seeing the original and the edited. Contrast can make your footage look crazy, and contrast is generally where people go overboard. Contrast and saturation. Contrast edits the brightest part of your footage and the darkest parts of your footage, so increasing it a little bit under control, and the before and after looks quite different already. Brightness. Brightness is basically exposure but softer, so it makes the footage tiny bit brighter. Black point. Black point affects your shadows. How deep do you want your shadows to be? Now you can reduce it and you can increase the black point. It increases contrast and I think it looks nice. Saturation affects the entire color range. If you increase it like this, it looks like cartoon. So don't do that to your footage. I will not tinker with saturation. Next up is vibrance. Vibrance affects lower end of colors that are not that popping. For example, if you increase vibrance, again, because in this particular video all the colors are pretty dull, so it affected the entire image. Generally, vibrance does not affect highly saturated colors. For example, if you take a photo of a red flower and you increase vibrance on it, the surrounding colors increase, leaving the reds alone. I even use it to edit portrait photos because when you increase vibrance, the skin tone generally does not get affected. Now increase the vibrance a tiny bit. Warmth. Warmth is an important setting. It means how warm or cold. What do you want your footage to feel like? For example, in this particular video, I want it to feel warm to make it look like a beautiful sunrise. And if you see the before and after, it is a dramatic change. What you can also do is you can create a filter sort of a thing. You can increase the warmth a lot and decrease the saturation. It's a very filter Instagram look you can get, but let's not do that here, and saturation back to where it was. And the warmth, I want this to feel pretty warm, and reduce the saturation a tiny bit here so it looks more like a sunrise. It evokes more emotion. Now, tint is whether you want your footage to be more towards pink or more towards green. If you add to it, it adds pink or magenta to the footage, and if you drag it to the left, it adds green. Generally, we add green to vintage sort of a footage. I don't want this to look old time. Again, here on this particular footage, pink look absolutely mortifying. Green I can add a little bit for the vintage vibe. Sharpness, I never tinker around sharpness, definition, and noise reduction. Again, noise reduction makes your footage insanely soft. Vignette, I never play around with vignette. If you increase it like this, the borders of your video gets darker. And if you reduce it, the borders get brighter. So it can be used for corrective purposes as well, because a lot of times when we are recording videos with the iPhone, the borders are darker than the center area. So you can minus on the vignette. So you can reduce vignette here to bring some details back. I will not tinker around the vignette, and let's just click on done. And I think the footage looks very, very pretty. Now, there are multiple applications on the App Store that can help you edit your videos. I personally don't use any external application. You can watch YouTube videos, you can watch courses on other applications. I personally use Apple Photos, and that's it. I forgot to show one bit. You can also click filters. This video, you can drag this around to crop your video. For example, you only want to crop till here. So you place it here and the video, and if you click on done, the video will be cropped. Now, you can also crop the video like this. If you click on the top left, you can mirror the video. It looks very weird, but you can mirror the video. You can rotate the video like this, and you can select the aspect ratio here. Original, freeform. With freeform, you can select any aspect ratio that you like. There's square, there's wallpaper, there's 9:16, 4:5, and there are all sorts of aspect ratios. For Instagram Reels, you always select 9:16. On this particular, I will select the original and just cancel it. Enter the app again, and in crop, you can also adjust the perspective, and you can also play the video again. I think perspective bits look very amateur and very terrible generally, but it is an option, and it does exist. You can tinker around it, and if the perspective feels wrong, you can edit the perspective. I think in this video, the perspective feels all right by default, so we will not make any adjustments. Now, if you go to the filters, there are filters as well. Filters make your videos look pretty beautiful. I love using filters all the time. Silver tone is a filter that I use a lot because I love the black and white look. But since this is a colorful video, I would like to use Vivid Warm. Vivid and Vivid Warm. Warm gives a more warmer tone here. I will just reduce the intensity a bit. And you click on done, and I think the video looks fantastic. It's a little dark, but then again, it's a forest video, and I think it looks beautiful.